How much money would you make if you invested $10,000 into the YieldMax Fund PLTY? That's what we're going to cover today in this video, breaking down PLTY. It's a newer YieldMax fund, and I think it has the potential to be the next MSTY, CONY, NVDY, the next huge YieldMax fund that runs like mad in 2025. Now, PLTR, the underlying stock, has been doing extremely well, which will play a huge role in how this fund does over the long term. So we're going to look at all of that and more in this video. If you guys are a fan of dividend investing, YieldMax funds, weekly paying dividend ETFs, all things under the investment realm, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It helps me out. I hope we can grow to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. I really appreciate all you guys have done. So let's roll that intro. So the YieldMax website, you guys have seen it before. I'm on here all the time. PLTY has a distribution rate of 62.5%, which is phenomenal. That's very good. That's higher than a lot of the ones that we've seen. And so I'm really, really excited to see what this fund can do. For those of you that are new to YieldMax funds or new to my channel, there's a lot of similarities between PLTY and a lot of the other YieldMax funds. So I'm not going to go too in-depth into it, but we know that the fund overview is that they want to generate monthly income by selling and writing call options on PLTR. The investment objective is to seek current income. So that can mean a lot of things. If you're retired and you want current income, if you're a younger investor, you want to reinvest with DRIP, there's a lot of reasons why people might want current income. But all in all, I love dividends. And so that's why I like watching these funds. Now, the net assets, 66 million, very, very small. This is a newer fund. Usually we see these for YieldMax well over 100 million. So there's still some room to grow, which I think is good. That's not necessarily a bad thing by any means. It's a less known fund. And again, it is newer. They've only paid out 2 distributions so far. We see a gross expense ratio of 0.99%, which again is a little bit lower than the average that we see for the YieldMax funds, at least the weeklies. I know some of them do pay more or do charge more to own, but I'm glad that this one's still at under 1% completely. So you can track the performance, but again, we're going to do all of that. The holdings, you see PLTR and then some treasury bills and whatnot. So all of that is very, very important. If you want to go through and check and see how much they own of each, I would recommend doing that, doing all your own DD. This is not financial advice, but I really do like PLTY, and I think there's some really, really good potential if PLTR can make a phenomenal run like it has so far. So let's check out the price charts for both PLTY and PLTR so far. Ticker PLTY, it is up almost 31% just in the last year alone, which is actually not even true. It's actually just since October 8, from $51 to a current price of $67, and at one point it hit $70. Now you might be asking, why is it doing so well? Well, the thing is, first of all, this is without dividends, but when you look at the price of PLTR over the last year, it's up 300%, which is insane. Absolutely insane. We've seen a phenomenal year in the stock market. 2024 was a great year. People might have different opinions on it. I think it was phenomenal. PLTR kind of proves that. We've seen a number of stocks just like this. Now, this thing at low was trading for about $6.50, and now it's trading for $72.51. So quite the return for PLTR. Now, what's it going to do? I don't know. We've seen some fluctuations over the last couple of days. It has dropped. It was down 3% today, but the whole market was down today. Actually, it's down 4% today. So there's a lot that goes into this. I like PLTR in the long run. I like it just like I like SoFi, ticker SOFI. But is it going to continue in 2025? I am not sure. So what I want to do is I want to calculate this based off our return that we've seen so far and see how much 10K can actually get you from these funds, because I'm genuinely super, super curious. But first, let's check out the distribution history. So the thing with these YieldMax ETFs is they pay 13 times a year. I was corrected on one of my other videos, which I apologize. They don't pay monthly. They pay 13 times a year. Now, when we're looking at these dividends, we have a 2.20, and we're going to add that with 3.35. But again, this is super risky because we've only seen 2 dividends so far. We're going to divide this by 2, and we're going to multiply it by 13. That gives us a $36 return per year, which is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Now, that is still very, very solid. We're going to divide this by the current share price of $67.25. And that gives us, then we'll multiply this by 100, and it gives us a return of 53.64%, which is, again, phenomenal. We've only seen 2 dividends so far. I'm curious what you guys think about this one. Is it one that you're buying even though it's still really, really new? The YieldMax funds typically drop off at the beginning, but PLTY has not whatsoever. So maybe it's a better option. Let's put this into a drip calculator and see what our return is percentage-wise if you had invested 10K initially when the stock went live. So PLTY, I'm using dividendchannel.com's reinvestment calculator, their drip calculator. If you had invested 10K on October 8th, you would now have $14,240. You're looking at a total return of 42.4%, which is phenomenal. Now, this again is only over a little over a 2.5 month period. So if you annualize this with drip on, you would be yielding roughly 218%. And without drip, it actually would be 213.6%. So not a whole lot of difference there. But this is outstanding. The return with this one is really, really, really good. And we know that because PLTR has been going insane. Now, MSTY did the same thing. And I looked at MSTY and I thought, it's done running. There's no way it's going to keep going. And it has. And we've seen, what, a 400% return with MSTY over the last year. So I don't know why PLTY couldn't do that. We don't know what the market's going to do. We don't know how everything's going to play in with 2025, what stocks are going to do, what crypto's going to do. But I genuinely think that if you're going to go long on a stock, PLTY is one of my favorites to do it in. And I don't own any of it yet, but I will be buying some for 2025 to track the progress, even though it is so overbought currently. Now, they might also dip. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a pullback with these and then have it run again after. If it does dip, I will be buying on the dip because PLTY, I think, or PLTR is very, very solid. The CEO is really good. He seems like a really smart guy, and he's focused on the company doing well in the long run. He doesn't care as much about shareholders, but he really, really likes the company and wants it to succeed. Now, PLTY, if you want current income, PLTY is just PLTR with current income. That's really how these YieldMax funds break down. One thing I want to ask you guys, should I do a full challenge with just YieldMax ETFs? Should I pick my 10 favorite or the 10 top returning YieldMax ETFs and put them all into one giant YieldMax fund? What do you guys think? I'm curious. I want to pick just the best of the best and do a challenge where I update everything monthly on the best YieldMax funds, what's doing well, what's not doing well. Let me know in the comments if you think that'd be a good idea. But before you do that, let's go ahead and jump into our dividend calculator. So after only 1 year of investing 10K with drip on into PLTY, you would be left with $16,900, which is wild. Absolutely crazy. Now, the key thing with this, too, is now your annual dividend income is all the way up to $11,662 with drip because you've already reinvested a full year's worth, and your total dividend payments over 1 year is $5,364. So I did the annual dividend that I calculated just based off the first two payments, getting us our definitive yield. So this is there's a lot of assumptions that go into this. We have everything plugged in for PLTY. We have no taxes on this because I invest in a Roth account, and I'm assuming someone would with this too in this scenario. We have no dividend increase, no dividend decrease. We have no NAV erosion because we can't factor that in, although it is a possibility, and we've seen it with other YieldMax funds. So a lot of assumptions here, but it is really fun to run these numbers and see how much money you can make. And the thing with PLTY is so far it's had a really solid run, but it's not even as good as some of the other YieldMax funds, so it's a lot more reasonable in my opinion. Now, so if we bump it up from 1 year all the way up to 5 years, now your ending balance is almost $138,000 off a $10,000 investment. So your dividend payments over those 5 years are $99,000. And now your annual dividend income is $95,000 because you just continue to compound with drip. That's the power of drip. And it's too crazy to me. Like, it's insane what people can actually do. And a long time ago, I would have said you can't do this. It's not possible. But I've seen it with Misty. I've seen it with NVDY. So it is possible. Maybe not for 10 years, maybe not for 20 years, but for a few year span, we've seen some pretty insane things. At least maybe, 8 to 10 months with Misty. So it is wild. Now, with 10 years, you end up with $1.9 million. 10 years of 10K invested. You're not adding any more money to this. That's just with drip on, reinvesting those dividends. The power of compound interest. Now, your annual dividend income is $1.3 million, and the total dividends you've made over the last 10 years are $1.4 million, which is crazy. Nearly 1.5. But it's only going to get crazier from here. After 20 years, your ending balance of your 10K initial investment is $361 million, not thousand. Our total return is in the millions percentage-wise, and your now annual dividend income is $250 million because you're getting 50%. So with drip on, it makes such a crazy difference. And that's what I want to say is if you're investing, if you're a younger investor, if you're an older investor and you want your money to work for you, drip is the way to go, in my opinion. You can dollar cost average, which is where you buy some every single month, maybe even every single week, depending on how you're doing it. But it's a good way to make sure that you are consistently putting more money into your future, into your investments. And that's what I like to do. So that's how I do it. I don't judge if you don't want to do it. I don't judge if you're living off this income. If you are, if you're retired, congratulations. And we'll see. PLTY might be too risky for you. You might just be watching this for fun. But still, I think it is really fun to calculate these things and to just look at the numbers. Now, with the scenario I always like to do, let's say you are 25 years old and you want to retire at 55. So you put all your money into a tax-exempt account like a Roth IRA. You have $10K. You buy 148.7 shares of the new YieldMax Fund, PLTY. After 30 years, your 10K investment ends up being worth $68 billion. And now your annual income is what? $47 billion. This is why it's not likely that you're going to become a billionaire by investing 10K into one stock, but the power of compounding interest is there. And even if we're not all billionaires one day, even if we're not all millionaires, we can all make money in the stock market and we can do it the smart way. So, like I said, is this going to happen with PLTY? Probably not. Is this going to be a fund in 30 years? I don't know. I don't know what YieldMax is going to do. I'm not an expert on YieldMax or on stocks in general. I am just a guy that loves making content on this stuff because it's really fun to run these numbers. And I have a decent track record with stocks myself. So if you guys are interested in learning more, check out our free Discord where we jump in. We talk about dividend stocks, YieldMax, the weekly payers, everything under the sun when it comes to investment. And if you really like YieldMax, check out the next video I'll link where I went over all of the YieldMax ETFs and their return in 2024, and I guarantee you'll be surprised by how well some of these funds have done. I'll see you guys in the next video.